We're now going to go on to Ms. Jezik. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Minister, for being here with your officials. And it seems like Ms. Kusi and I are often on the same wavelength, because I was going to ask you to highlight some of the investments that we have made since 2015 in public transit. She mentioned a couple. Perhaps you could fill us in on the range of investments in public transit that the Ministry of Infrastructure has actually made to date.
So that's great, because I think it is really important to talk about. I said 13 times. It's actually good, because it's $13 billion that we have invested in public transit since we were elected. And just a reminder that Conservatives ran on a platform to cut $18 billion in infrastructure spending. So maybe that was all of the public transit investments that we've made wouldn't actually get built. But let's talk about the transit hub in Brampton, Ontario. I was just making an announcement with the mayor of Brampton. He is so excited about this transit hub and how this is going to transform Brampton and get more people around faster in more affordable ways, in cleaner ways. The transit hub in the Cowichan Valley in BC, projects like electric school buses and charging infrastructure in Charlottetown, Milton, Durham Region, Kawartha Lakes, Kingston, St. Thomas, Oakville, Waterloo, Stratford, Guelph. I could go on. Since coming to office at the end of 2015, we have invested more than $13.3 billion in public transit projects across the country, 13 times more than the previous government that only invested $1 billion. And look, I like the ambition of provinces like Ontario. I want to get more public transit built. I want to get more public transit built in Hamilton. I think that we need to be moving forward. I've heard from Jerry Diaz. He said that it's so important that we get the streetcars for Toronto, because that's good jobs, Bombardier jobs in Thunder Bay. And I think that's what this is about. Why? This is the triple benefits I spend so much time talking about: public transit, jobs, Canadian supply chain, electric buses, but streetcars, economic growth. Largest driver of economic growth is investments in infrastructure. Climate action. When we talk about public transit, when we talk about electric buses, that makes a huge impact in reducing emissions, and of course inclusivity, because who is taking public transit? Often our essential workers that we have seen in the pandemic depend on public transit. People that do not have access to vehicles, they cannot afford vehicles. Young people who don't even want cars. I found that out for my kids. They never want to have a car. They just want to get around on public transit. So this is really the opportunity. And this is how we're going to build a better country, a cleaner country, a country with good jobs where it is inclusive for all.
Thank you very much, Minister. If I could turn, in fact, to the Yonge North Subway. I represent a riding in York Region, and this is an extremely important project to all the members in York Region, both the government and opposition, of course. You talk about the need for a business plan, and as someone who's extremely familiar with the topography, as an example, of the potential route, that is a very hilly part of York Region, as an example, I can only imagine that there's a need for a very close examination of the potential routes, the options that are available, underground, overground, etc. Could you just sort of elaborate a little bit on your need for that detail, level of detail that you require from the province?
Minister?
Well, thanks very much for the question. And I should start by saying we're already supporting the Yonge North subway extension. That we've done so by providing funding for preliminary engineering into York Region. So this is a project that I think is a really good project. But of course, we need to look at, as you say, where is the route going to be? Just details about the costs. And just a full business case, which is just a requirement, because in the end, I have to go, like the province of Ontario has to do, I have to go to my Treasury board and justify every dollar, which we should. We need to be accountable. These are taxpayer dollars. So we've been really encouraging the province to give us the business case for this project, to really help us understand, our government to understand, so that we can make sure that we're accountable to taxpayers while moving ahead on a project that that would be great. And it's just so interesting. I'm not very used to Conservatives attacking attacking liberals for being prudent about taxpayer dollars. I am someone who believes we need to be fiscally responsible, but we've got to be ambitious on infrastructure. It seems that the Conservatives don't want to be fiscally responsible, and we know they don't really want to invest in infrastructure. So it's kind of the opposite. But look, we support the Yonge Subway extension. We've said so extensively on the public record, really up to the province to get its ducks in a row, get us the information we need to do a proper funding evaluation so we can get this project underway.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna. Thank you, Ms. Jazik.